Hey you guys, I finally caved and bothered to get some footage of a solo Spire. I can't say that this was the number one priority for me, but because I've seen this request so many times, I decided it's about time I actually do this. Um, for me, Spire, a huge chunk of it is kind of just boring until you get to the last bosses. So, and it's also the rewards are not that important to the people that I regularly run with. So for the most part, I've just been running with groups to help them get the Spire God title. So I have done Spire a lot lately, but if I'm gonna run it, usually I think, oh, I should do it when I can get somebody the title. Otherwise, I don't really need the EXP or anything like that. With that said, I did start this one up just because I think people just want to see, how far can I get on my own. The tricky part with a solo Spire is you don't get a revive because the moment that you die, there's nobody else around, so that you immediately fail. So your revive rune is completely useless, and so yeah, you have to be a little bit careful. You have to make sure that you time things right with these bosses. So I did usually I think one auto attack or basic attack, and then a thunder, and that takes care of most of the bosses 3 through 5, which can have that can debuff you and make you take more damage. And then I think for the mummy, which can slow, I go into sylph mode, and so there I can make sure um, that I'm not taking more damage than I need to. Here I went really conservative. I haven't really done this before, so I didn't really. Yeah, I just thought up what would work, but I didn't really. It seemed fine. I I didn't really have a huge preference on what skills I was gonna bring. I think Puri was maybe a little bit unnecessary just because by the time that I actually need to purify myself, which is boss 21, the Amazon Queen, wasn't really gonna beat that anyway. So maybe purification was unnecessary. I maybe could have brought a damnation, or um, I don't think Blessed Light would have really helped me either. So maybe damnation would have been a better bet there to make things go more smoothly. But that said, if I were, in order to beat Amazon Queen, I would definitely have to have purification. There's no way I could get around that. So yeah, so Hercules and pretty basic set of mage skills. I went really conservative with the runes. I brought heal and guardian, which actually the guardian rune did end up helping me. Actually, maybe even a little bit more than the heal rune did. Um, uh, we do get that guardian rune of the Spire buffs available, but it has a very long cooldown, so having an extra guardian rune was actually pretty helpful toward the end. So the challenge here, I didn't have enough Sylph mode. I didn't have like a Sylph Delphic or something to wipe um, this archer out really quickly, and so I had to be a little bit safe. I didn't want to, use thunder or something and potentially kill myself, so that would have cut this video really short. Yeah, this guy you actually have to be a little bit careful because if you don't clear the ads, the mobs in front of him quickly, they can build a deflect, and when you're on your own, you definitely don't want to deal with a deflect. But really, there's no bleeds or anything that I have to worry about too much, um, just because Centauria can clear most of those. Well, clear, I mean cancel out. And I'm trying to save my Delphic for the eye. I tried to wipe out that eye rather quickly because it can debuff you if you don't clear it within um, 2 turns. And sometimes those debuffs, at least back in the day, they would bug, and even if you removed them, they would still be there. So to me, it's just safer to kill it before it debuffs. I think this boss might go a little bit slow just because, well, relatively slow, just because I'm building up Awakening and don't bother to use Sylph. I think, what's the boss after this? It's the Warlock type of dude, and he debuffs, and so I think I'm just waiting to be able to Puri the debuff on the next boss in order to Sylph. That said, I knew I would have to be a little bit careful about when I use my Sylph mode, because you don't want to be left just using class skills on some of the tougher bosses, and so yeah, just time things out a little bit carefully. I hadn't really done this before, but even so, I'm a pretty premeditated person, so I was at least trying to figure out what I was supposed to be doing. I don't know if I successfully went about that. I think I started using Vulcans a little too early. There were some bosses where maybe I panicked and I used a Vulcan, but I actually realized now I probably could have gotten away with not using them. So, Sylvie. So there, I debuff. And turns out that I'm too slow to my Delphic here, so he ends up debuffing me again anyway, but oh well. Get Shock Chain out. I'm not sure how good Shock Chain really is in PvE stuff, but I seem to use it anyway. Oh, I didn't use Shock Chain. I should have used Shock Chain second and then just Delphic. So yeah, there's the debuff. But my Delphic still seems to do well. And once I got out of Sylph, that already is 2 turns that were used on there, and I think it only lasts 3. So, not too bad. As far as waiting for your awakening points, I don't know if anybody has an internal egg timer, but I think it takes 38 seconds to. Well, I know for single PvP, so if you're fighting another player and it's just you, that it takes 38 seconds for your awakening to fully go from 0 to whatever is max. But I'm not sure if it's exactly timed out the same way for single PvE things, or if sometimes it feels like it's different with a group. Sometimes I think it's just because when you're with a group, the lag seems worse. But yeah, at least for single PvP, that's the number. I am planning on doing a video where I show how to double hit. I don't know why this just came to mind. But as many ways to start double hits as possible. Here it's quite difficult in class mode, since I can't use AFK mode, but or the AFK button, and but I can still use it in Sylph in my awakened form. Sometimes it can be a little bit trickier because I have to use a mouse on the Spire Spire buffs, but it's still very doable going into Sylph mode. Um, so yeah, but I think it's probably at this point I get so many questions about double hitting every time I say why it's so important. Um, I do have a video on how to do it in World Boss, but maybe I should do a video that covers it a little bit more thoroughly um, for everything. So I'll go over PvP, go over PvE, and all the different places, different ways you can start them. So one person was telling me that she literally just button mashes until somehow they just start for her, which is probably not the most foolproof way to go about it. So I'll show the 100% guaranteed ways to start them. That was Cuddle Muffin, who I think is a friend of mine from that I've met on Facebook through the cross server. Wartune community asking me if I have all the mounts except for Ice Lion. Ice Lion was some mount that was for a big spender that was for way too many. I mean, all the big spenders are pretty crazy, but I mean, it was absurd. I was either a recharge or a big spender for something like the equivalent of $1,600 or $1,200. Anything. It was big, and so I didn't get that one. And I don't have any of the temp mounts, and I don't have the guild battle, the one for the guild master. And then some of the temporary mounts, so like demonic civet, evil unicorn. I don't know about that rhino, and I don't have the one for bloody inferno yet. I can make it, but I don't know why I just haven't. So here's when things get a little bit tougher, just finishing wise. I think maybe the next boss or the one after is when they start to actually get to the 1k, the 1k percent buffs, and so I picked up one extra Vulcan Wrath from a treasure thief at some point, but I was not feeling super comfortable with the number that I had. So I wanted to conserve them, but I think at some point I just realized that I wanted to use them just to make sure that I could get through this. I could try and play it really safe and just use Sylph mode and a lot of thunders to try and get these bosses and conserve my Vulcan Wrath to try and push to beat 21 or boss 21, but I didn't want to lose early just because I was trying to be too greedy and not use my Vulcan. So see me do this at probably starting at this boss and from then on try and get a Centauria in before going into my Sylph mode. It's just to keep my HP up, and if he does buff up, all these bosses I can probably live through at least a couple of hits, probably more than that, without having to use a Guardian Rune or heal or whatever. So, but it's still nice to keep my health up. So I was just checking the buff, and I was surprised because this guy does buff up like a 200% damage increase buff at some point, and I use a Guardian Rune here because I was panicking. But yeah, I was checking that, and I was just really surprised that he buffed up to 1000% already. So I throw in the Guardian Rune, and I get ready to use a Vulcan. Kind of a wasted Vulcan because I'm not able to deal much damage, but I just wanted to make sure I would beat him. So that's probably the main case where I would say I did something sort of unnecessary. I probably would have been just fine against him without the Guardian Rune or anything. This guy is a similar deal. I would say until probably from, well, actually for that angel you do need a Puri if you have a close group, but probably from Elise to the Amazon Queen boss. It's mostly just tank and spank. As long as you can live and deal enough damage, it'd be just fine. I guess here I'm trying to get away with not using. Oh no, I do go ahead and use a Vulcan. I thought it would have been strange if I hadn't, but that's what I get for sitting on footage for too long. Forget what happened. Usually for PvE videos like this, I would just comment on time as I go, but I was kind of worried about thinking what I should do, and so I decided to just record and voice it over. but usually the voiced over ones are for my PvP videos. I just have a really hard time concentrating on what I'm doing if I'm talking to you guys, so just please sympathize with me on that. Here's Elise, which is a very tough boss for, well, probably one of the bosses where back when it was difficult to beat, was a boss where we got stuck for a very long time, and this is definitely still a hurdle if you're doing a solo Spire. I think I manage okay here, but it was good to get that one hit off with myself, and still having some of the Vulcan Wrath left, so that helps me out. Here she's already buffed up. I use the Spire Guardian rune. Don't really know if these Guardian runes are really necessary at this one, but just in case. I'm mostly judging whether or not I actually needed a Guardian rune by the end of boss 20, where I realize I can actually take quite a bit of damage from these bosses without too many issues. Definitely Inspire, you know, this isn't just the case here for me, but even when you're with a group, it's important, especially when you need to use your Vulcans, when the bosses are getting a lot tougher and you're trying to do a lot of DPS. It's more important to be able to get back into Sylph mode than it is sometimes to be using a lot of Sylph skills in your awakened form. So I would do, you know, at most 4 skills like Shock Chain and then Vulcan Wrath, and then use 3 skills. Usually that's enough. So yeah, it's pretty important to be able to get back into Sylph mode quickly. And that's the same thing here. You know, I want to be able to do as many Delphics as possible with my Sylph, and be able to use Vulcan Wrath. So here, using up the last of my Wraths, that's my 4th one, and I don't get any more. I was lucky enough to get this one extra one, or else I would have been in a lot more trouble. Nice big crit. Almost 3 million damage there. And there, he's buffed up. I thought I was going to lose here just because I was really worried, but surprisingly not hitting me that hard. Maybe because I'm a mage, and oh no, that one was pretty tough. I was thinking he's probably, most of these little angel dudes are magical attacks, so maybe I don't take as much damage as I thought I would. I'm not totally sure there. But here I realize that I can probably just survive and pick away at him as long as I can maintain heals. That darn stun. Even able to get back into Sylph mode, which is really important. Stopping for heals though. That heal rune is so nice. It's crazy to me that a maxed out heal rune, a player heal rune, not a Spire rune, heals for the same amount as a Spire rune, just because that's such a terrifying amount of HP back. Sometimes some of those top knights will use it, and I'm just like look in horror because they gain so much back after I'd worked so hard to finally, you know, kill them. Get in that Guardian rune, and maybe this Delphic isn't enough. Probably need one more. Oh, got it. Grit. So, I don't even know why I made such an effort to try and live through this, since it was pretty much hopeless without at least one Vulcan, probably 1.5 or 2. But you can at least see the timing for debuffing here. So on the second attack, she puts this enormous bleed. It's probably not a great example watching me, just because I have so much HP, so it doesn't look like it's going to take away as much. But it's almost always like a 100k plus bleed on whomever she gets, and she does it every other turn. So 2 mages can handle this okay, or just fine. One, you need people who are very diligent about being able to get their heal runes out. Puri rune is not a bad idea, but if it's not high level, sometimes you end up missing. But here, for the most part, I can actually just heal rune out of it, but because I'm not able to deal enough damage, healing myself is kind of hopeless here. But I'm gonna die soon, and that pretty much wraps up this video. I'm sitting at, I think, like 650 something BR for this video. Probably the most recent or most similar stats for my tune that you can see are on my Sacred Fire Temple video. And so thanks for watching, you guys. Take care and have a very good day.